Good morning, traders and investors. Welcome to Wealth Down, where we build and protect wealth with me, Noble PM. And here are the major topics for the week. We are going to talk about the week for the 22nd to the 26th of September 2025. We had Inflation and Fed Watch, Nvidia, OpenAI, and Intel buzz, ORCL ticked up update, and of course, big movers and earnings. Last but not least, my trades, what I sold, why I did it, what are the major trades for this week. Let's just start not with ORCL at all. We want to start off with the major indices, and first one will be the S&P 500. We had a really good move here in the S&P, again ending the week on the positive. It's just amazing. Just take a look at this from April lows till now. We are in September and still we are at all-time highs. Now, could this go bad? It most likely will go bad. At what point? Will this be tomorrow? Will this be on Monday? Will this be the next month? I don't know. Now, until that day comes, we're going to take a look at also the Nasdaq, which had, once again, a great week, ending the week on the positive side here with 0.44% in the gain. Also, the Dow Jones ending it on the positive. So everything is up. Everything is okay. Even the 10-year yield, the 10-year bond, had here a slight uptick. Now, is this a bullish move on bonds? Should you go right into the TLT? I would have just a tinge of reluctance doing that, and maybe just a bit of patience. Now, I do own a lot of TLT, and I'm down on that position, but zero problems there. I'm down like maybe 7%. That's not much, but when that is going to turn big. So I would say keep a look, and let's just go here to the weekly because that was the dailies. Keep a look at this trend change exactly as it did here. Let's just go to the TLT. Currently everything is down, but we can see here, and this is the weeklies. Is it? Yes, it's the weeklies. They're almost touching the 20 and the 50-day moving average, because we have now the 200, 100, 50 and the 20-day moving average, and the 20-day is trying to touch the 50-day, and it almost did, and it will do it. And that is going to be a massive change, exactly as we had it back here in 2019. So watch out for this. I'm not saying it's going to happen tomorrow, but it will happen, and it's sooner than later. Okay, last thing that I want to take a look at is crude oil. Crude oil, once again, having here a positive, but then on the other side, negative day, is still trying to battle up here. Just for full disclosure, I am short. I have not a major short position, but I do have a short position on oil. I am still expecting oil to come once more down here, because there are no economic drivers for oil, except in war. I don't want that. But I would say oil still has to come back down here before it can move upwards. Okay, also let's take a look at gold, heading once more a pretty good day. Also silver going here parabolic. So all the silver investors, good job. Maybe take some profits. Maybe. It is on the other side on the 80. So I would say take some profits here. Not everything. If you don't want to sell all your silver position, please consider taking some profits. I already talked about in a couple of videos back that I already closed my copper position, but this is trying to look here juicy once more. So if it's going to come back and test this 20-day and not fail at it, that I would say that's a pretty high probability that copper is going to go higher. So keep an eye on copper. Also Bitcoin, and I'm going to stop then here with crypto. So I'm always stopping at Bitcoin, maybe a bit of Ethereum, but I would say take a good look at Bitcoin at this level. We are at the pivoting point. If Bitcoin breaks underneath of the 200-day moving average, you should see a major pullback in Bitcoin. If that happens, because we're already coming into this, let me go on the weeklies and let's reset the scale here. So on the weeklies, we are still at the 20-day moving average. On the dailies, we surpassed it. But my area where I'm looking for re-entering a Bitcoin position is right here. Perfect support for a next leg up. Now, if this happens, this means that we are going into an entire market slowdown, but also a great opportunity for adding to your Bitcoin position. Now, inflation picked up a little bit, and we have the PCE for August. So we just came out now right here in September. We had the PCE coming up at 2.7% year to year, with the core PCE at 2.9% year to year, still above the Fed's target, meaning market tempered expectation for aggressive cuts. Now, higher treasury yields remain a drag on risk opportunities, so keep your eyes on this little fella as it's increasing, and increasing. Now, back to some market action, and we have here a couple of great news. Well, I wouldn't say great news. It's the beginning of the end, I would say. But it is still great news because Nvidia and the AI hype train rolled on as well. As you maybe already heard it, Nvidia announced a 100 billion, that's B with a billion, investment in OpenAI to expand its computing infrastructure. Now, this sparked a flash rally in the semiconductor and AI-linked names, but didn't move Nvidia that much. So Nvidia is kind of sitting here. Maybe this would be a perfect setup for an iron condor for the next week, not going higher, not going lower or that low. Maybe an iron condor slightly leaning on the bearish side. Now, meanwhile, Intel, ticker symbol INTC, had here a major rip. And we're going to come back to Intel just in a couple of moments, but let's just take a look at this. Major move on a Fibonacci extension. It's always 61.08%. So is a 127% extension awaited? I'll be cautious here with Intel. It's extended a surge following the last week's announcement of 5 billion stake from Nvidia, which reports surface of a pretty bullish Apple, ticker symbol AAPL, and TSMC, ticker symbol TSM, over potential partnership and supply chain collaboration with Intel, that is. Now, there are some speculations around the merger and acquisition and government backing fueled strong flows into Intel shares. What does this mean? That we're going to come back to Intel just in a couple of seconds. That's what this means. Because in the meanwhile, Oracle, once again, talks about taking over TikTok, actually acquiring TikTok. Now, the potential deal for the cloud computing company Oracle is into a hybrid tech social media powerhouse, but regulatory risk remains high. So let's just think about it. Maybe it is going to come true that Oracle will take over TikTok or will acquire TikTok. Now, TikTok will be handed to them and by the government. And if the government, once again, if the government gives something, God gives, God can take. So I would be really cautious with this on a long term. So after this is over with Mr. President Trump, things could go sour for Oracle. Meanwhile, a big miss for my part on EA Electronic Arts. They jumped 15% after WSG reported a 50 billion LBO bid led by Saudi and Silver Lake. They're already coming out with the latest Battlefield 6, that is, which is looking amazing. I don't know how this will perform, but just take a look at this. And I was thinking last week or something like that, maybe I should take a position in EA just due to the fact that it's looking like a great run here. And I did not. So poo-poo on me, but I missed out on EA. For those of you who didn't miss out on EA, leave a comment in the comment section below, and I will congratulate you personally. Next up, Costco had its earnings and just boom, plummeted here, but not plummeted. But it did go down on the earnings, and then it could go down once more on the second day. But I would say that this is looking for me for even greater and greater opportunity to enter maybe a Costco 6 to 1 year trade, because this is looking really good. Don't forget, Costco is one of the major players, and I would expect for this to once more reach new all-time highs and even go further. Maybe this is just a digestion of the previous earnings and previous market moves. So I will be definitely taking an eye on, keep my eye on Costco. Okay, so let's take a look at some trades. We finished last week with, let's see here, $983 profit, and we're almost done with the month of September for the September month. But we're currently out for the month of September with $1,781. But it's getting risky. It's getting risky and riskier, and I have to say here that I have a major short position on the S&P, which I took a couple of months back. And I must say, I am down, or we are down, massively. So I would desperately need for a market pullback, but later about that. So maybe the day will come where you're going to see here a red number, massive red number, or a small red number, because I don't think that my short will ever go into positive territory. Nevertheless, let's talk about the trades that I made this week. Both of them on the 26th of September. First of all, you guessed it, Intel, ticker symbol INTC on the 26th. That was on Friday. I should have waited maybe a little bit more, but hey, take your profits and move on. We had here 920.96 euro profit. Actually, the position was, that's the gross profit, and then the net profit, I'm going to tell you just in dollars, is 791.44. And this also was the entire lot of Intel. Once again, made a mistake, got into Intel a bit too high, but I left the position, and we're going to talk now a little bit about Intel. So let's just take a look at this. Let's do here let's go on the yearly, go back here, and let's just try to do a Fibonacci extension. So Fibonacci extension, we're going to take the low of the last rally, go here and go down here. And I'm just going to take out everything that we don't need. So this, we need this, we don't need you, we don't need you, and we also don't need any background. Perfect. So we have Intel right here at the 61.8%. Now, could this go up into its next move into 1.61? You know what, let me actually add the 1.27, which is underneath its last, not even last all-time high, but yeah, last all-time high, let's just say it like that. Of course it could. But for this to happen, I would say, first of all, Intel needs to correct. Why do I say this? Well, just the law of large number. Intel is currently sitting at an RSI of 80.57, MACD massively open here. So any bad news could turn this around massively. Now, this is a bullish flag because, and I'm just going to lay out some scenarios here. First move, the US government takes position in Intel, so buy stock. It has a, I don't know, how was the position? Doesn't even matter, but they do have now a position in Intel. So their best interest is for Intel to grow now. Nvidia invests in Intel, and maybe they're going to also take it completely over. Intel disappears, stocks turn into Nvidia stocks, and boop-de-boop, now the government has a position in Nvidia. So maybe it's just a bit of conspiracy, but just think about this. Wouldn't this be logic? Wouldn't this be the art of the deal? I would say yes. So keep your eyes on Intel. I'm currently out and looking to get back in, but not at these conditions. And I also just couldn't risk that I'm wrong. I just say it that way. Because if this pops away, nothing will save Intel. Intel will remain down here forever and ever because just the company just does not produce anything valuable for the market at the current moment. So that's my 2 cents on Intel. Next up is exactly as it says there. It's Apple. Ticker symbol AAPL. Also sold, not my entire stake, but I did sold a pretty large stake in Apple, bringing me 350.39 euros gross, and that is a net of $301. Now let's also take a look at Apple, and let's see. It's I'm going to go through the 5 years here. Let's do another Fibonacci extension here. So bull run was, well, it was back, woo, really back here. Let's do here and here. Great extension on the weeklies, and it still has room to go. And this is one of the companies that I will believe it will go to the 1.27 or the 127% move. Why is that? Well, even if the biggest players in technology come here, it's still, and I mean Nvidia, I mean Microsoft, I mean everyone who is producing or working on AI, OpenAI, even Google, they need a platform where to make money. And that platform is Apple. Why? Well, because Apple has the device, it has the phone, it has the tablet, it has the watch. It has so many places where currently users are consuming content and where they can monetize the users. Of course, you have your Samsung and so far and so on, but the ecosystem of Apple is still one of the greatest. So I wouldn't discount Apple. I'm also no longer holding that great of a position in Apple because, once again, markets are pretty hot. They need to cool down. If it's going to come back into support, I may add back to my Apple position, reducing risk. At the end of the day, this is why Wealth Tom has its philosophy of create wealth, but also protect your wealth. So that was my 2 cents on Apple. And with this, also the end of our trades for last week, coming in at $1,092 profit for the last week. And we still have 3 days in September left for the next, next week we still have 3 days left in September, but we're currently sitting at $2,874 in profit for the month of September, bringing us up in a 70,420 $1 profit for, sorry about that, that's a lot of numbers, for this year. So a couple of key takeaways. AI remains king, with Intel and Nvidia, or Nvidia and Intel tech momentum gaining, although not that much for Nvidia as much as it's for Intel. This is telling you something. If the major players are no longer moving with it, because one of the big companies that actually makes profit is Nvidia and nobody else. We don't know what the heck OpenAI is doing. We don't know. Actually, Oracle we know is doing bad. It just has promises that they're going to produce a lot of stuff. Intel is poo-poo. ASML is one of the great ones, but I always sold my entire position. Let's just take a last look at the ASML, and then I'm going to close this video. Yes, ML, just as a curiosity, let's see how it's doing. Up there. Still has a lot to go. Still away from its all-time highs. And I would say it's also in desperate need of a pullback. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, with this being said, have a lovely weekend and a lovely next week. Stay safe out there. I'm Nvidia. Catch you next time. Bye-bye.